devices. Let me see. Yo, I'm messing with my stand here. Give me a second. Hopefully that'll work. Let me get a sound check. We good? I get a mic check. 1, 2. Welcome to. I ain't been here in a minute, man. Somebody type something in the chat for me. Let me know you can hear me. All right. What up, Dewan? What up, Vaughn? What up? Yeah, man. It's definitely Aquarius season, man. In fact, Shannon, what's up? In fact, my guy who I'm gonna get into today, is an Aquarius. You know. Let me see. Oh man, happy belated birthday. You know. Happy birthday, man. Happy birthday. Yes, Aqua season. Alright. So real fast, man, I just wanted to jump on really just to record. I had something for the record book. And so today is War General from the Union Army, William T. Sherman birthday. You know what I mean? It's Aquarius season. I thought I would be far enough with my shirt on, but you know. All right. And so it's Aquarius season right now. And real fast, just to get into the history of this war general, which is very critical because we're dealing with Black History Month right now, right? When we deal with Black History Month, I mean the obvious. And I remember thinking like, why Black people get the shortest, month? And it's like we always get in the short end of the stick. And it really dawned on me about growing into the love of the art of what I call the art of civil war. If there's any war that Black folks should study, it has to be the Civil War. I keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. We shouldn't study Sun Tzu, art of war, Chinese philosophy is all good, but that's more of a philosophical context, and we need to be studying the spirit of freedom that actually moved and came and got us free. And I'm talking about from our worst state. So our worst state being slavery without a shadow of a doubt. So something happened. And so I'm really laying out, if you follow me closely, especially when you get on my other playlist called Union Soldier Music. If you follow me closely, either that or Facebook, we like to tell the story from the perspective of the winning side. Because you and I are on the winning side. We're not in the worst state called slavery from 1619 up to 1865. We're not there. And even on that, it amazes me how we parrot stuff because it's like, man, we done suffered 400 years of slavery. It's like, wait a minute, hold on, man. Technically speaking, like, the first documentation is 1619, the earliest known slaves in the Virginia colony. 1619, man. 2019 makes 400 years. Ain't nobody been slaves for 400 years. But what's happening is people know that parable is a truth from the Bible. Your people will be in bondage for 400 years. And so we take that truth and mix it with a physical truth of slavery, and we impose and put this, 400-year injunction on ourselves as a culture. And that's dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Because that was being spewed all the way back in the early 1900s, 400 years. And it was like, bro, you ain't even been one for 300. You know what I'm saying? Not even 200. You know what I mean? 16, 19, 17, 18, 19. You know what I mean? 1919. Like it's just dangerous. So anyway, um, that spirit of truth, or realizing how we got out of that situation, you have to go to the Civil War without a shadow of a doubt. And so I did that. Found myself drenched in the Union side. You know what I'm saying? And within that Union army, you're going to find some very interesting cats. Today's guy, whose birthday it is, salute definitely to my war general, William T. Sherman, from Lancaster, Ohio. Man, it's so funny, man. Spirit is funny. You know what I'm saying? Because in my youth, when in my younger years from the street gang, I had to do time. I had to do boot camp in Lancaster, Ohio. But see, and I remember seeing the sign in those back streets. It was one of those signs with, the yellow sign with the black arrow telling you that the street is curving, and it said KKK back there. And I remember that, and I remember thinking like, man, these some racist white boys back up in these woods, which definitely true. And but that was really spirit priming me for future play, to understand something that has a greater significance, which is the subject matter of today. And so William T. Sherman is most popular for, and a lot of people don't know this, is for this saying, 40 acres in a what? If I say 40 acres, you say what? You say mule. And here's the thing, again, it's another popular legend. 40 acres in the mule comes from Special Field Order number 15, that is written by William T. Sherman, Abraham Lincoln's also Secretary of War. They travel down to Georgia, and they're having a conversation with about 16 slaves and 4 freedmen, and they're asking them questions about, hey, what do you think about the Civil War? What do you think about the Emancipation Proclamation? What do you see yourself doing in this war? And most importantly, what do you see yourself doing after the war? So those present elected a freedman who was a bishop or minister for the church to be pretty much the spokesperson for the group. And in that conversation, they start talking about pretty much, the Confederates have lost the war. Sherman, let me back up a little bit. Sherman had went down into Georgia and started this campaign called March to the Sea. And so what's happening is General Ulysses Grant, which is the Lieutenant General, the head of the entire Union Army, they're going to leave Tennessee, and from Tennessee, Grant is about to go back to Virginia and take the war to General Lee's ass, and about to go to what's called the Eastern Theater, okay? So part of the Army of the Union, after we come in Tennessee, all right, you go look this stuff up, after we come in Tennessee, we actually about to go now, we about to go east, and then Sherman is going to go down south. He said, listen, I'm going to break off from y'all. I'm going to go down south, and I'm about to smash these Confederate boys down south in Georgia. So on his way to Georgia, he captures Atlanta. He captures Atlanta by shooting up the city. I mean, shooting all the buildings. It's called shelling. Cannons, everything. Shooting up the city, making all the civilians get out, run. Make the Confederates get out, tearing up railroad tracks, because in war, you have to destroy supplies. It's very important. The main thing in the Civil War was train tracks. I'm telling you, train tracks. Because if you can stop your enemy from getting shoes, more weapons, food, you're going to starve him out and you're going to hurt him real bad. They're going to surrender, okay? In fact, in one of the battles in Vicksburg, where Grant is going up against the Confederates, one of the Confederate soldiers came to their general and slipped a note under the door and said, if you can't feed us, surrender us. We're hungry and we can't fight hungry. Okay? This is facts. All right? So Sherman goes down into Georgia and burns Atlanta, burn the city. So on Facebook today, I posted a picture of Atlanta City Seal. If you just Google image City Seal of Atlanta, you're going to see a bird with fire flames, like the Thunderbird or the Firebird for the old school Pontiac cars. You're going to see a bird coming out of a flame with this Latin term called resurgence, which means will rise again, because the city got burned down. And it'll tell you from 1850 something to 65, or 1840 something to 65. So in 65, burned it down. Okay? And so then from Atlanta, this campaign is going to be known as March to the Sea. Now we about to go to Savannah, because that's the last fort in port where any goods can come in off the Navy, off the coast. We're going to take Savannah, and then from Savannah, we're going to route back up and go through South Carolina, who started the war, and we're going to burn Columbia down. So Columbia, South Carolina gets burned down, and then finally Sherman marches the troops back up into North Carolina, and on April 26th, Joe Johnston surrenders his Confederate troops. Okay? Now, remember, April 9th, 1865, General Lee, the head of the Confederate Army, he surrenders to Grant at the Battle of Appomattox, Virginia. Okay? Salute to my soldier, cavalry officer, Custer. All right, George Custer. Custer is one of the ones, and he from Ohio too. Sherman from Ohio, General Grant from Ohio. All right, Custer is one of the ones who get one of the surrender white flags at one of the battles. Okay, this is facts. All right, Ohio applied mad pressure on these dudes. If you go look up the next 10 Republican nominations for president after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, this is what you're gonna see. The next 10. Ohio, Ohio, Ohio. Then somebody in Ohio again, number 4. 4 in a row. Ohio, 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 Ohio for president. Number 5, dude come in from Maine because one of the presidents died. And then 6 is Ohio, 7 is Ohio, 8 is Ohio, 9 is Ohio, 10 is Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy, who comes out of New York only because, and he was a vice president only because the president from Ohio dies in office. So I'm telling you, the next 10 Republican nomination that is coming out of the Republican Party after Abraham Lincoln, the great emancipator, 8 of them are from Ohio. I'm giving you facts. General Grant, who ended the Civil War, who later becomes president and who was on a $50 bill, Ohio. William T. Sherman, today, Ohio. The guy who got the flag, one of the surrender flags, all right, George Custer, Ohio. Okay? These all Union soldiers putting in mad work. All right? And so, anyway, if it wasn't for what we call Uncle Billy, which is William T. Sherman, if it wasn't for Uncle Billy, we may be in trouble. Because, again, General Lee surrenders April 9th, but it's not until April 26th that Joe Johnston and his Confederate troops surrender in North Carolina. So Lincoln didn't even live to see all of the Confederate troops surrender. This is a fact, okay? And William T. Sherman is known as, this is called scorched earth policies. You know what I'm saying? Hey, what up? What up, Dave? This is called scorched earth policies. Scorched earth policy is when you take it to your enemy's ass and you burn up everything. Burn it up. This is what niggas do when they get mad and they start rioting and looting and they burn up shit. Well, that's a war strategy. When you on your enemy's territory, is you burn up, you just burn shit. Burn it up. Scorched earth policy. Very hard. It's true. Now, a lot of people like to try to throw shade at my war general. He ain't really like blacks. Which is not true. Yeah, I read memoirs of these guys, their actual words. I'm not reading somebody's opinion and half of a sentence that somebody likes to take, because they do that shit with Abraham Lincoln all the time, where they take a piece of Abraham Lincoln's sentence and say, man, the war is not about slavery, it's about saving the Union. And if I could save the Union without saving one or without freeing one slave, I would do it. See, it's about the Union. It's not about slavery. And then in the very next sentence, Abraham Lincoln would say, and if I could save the Union by freeing all of the slaves, I would do it. You see what I'm saying? They conveniently leave that part out. And then even some white historians don't even see the true beauty of the art of war, because they say that on that argument that this is about the Civil War is about the Union. No, it wasn't. The Republican Party in 1854 purposely created itself as an anti-slavery party. This is a fact. Abraham Lincoln in 1858 is debating former judge from Illinois, Stephen Douglas, also senator from Illinois named Stephen Douglas. Lincoln is debating this dude in 58 all through Illinois, and Stephen Douglas is calling Abraham Lincoln and the Republicans the Black Republican Party, and start calling them Black Republicans and Black Republicanism. They start giving these niggas nicknames, calling them Black Republicans. What up, Ernest? Real story. You know what I'm saying? And so if the Republican Party started in 1854, which was a very critical year in American history, because 1854 becomes the year that the Kansas-Nebraska Act is passed. That's when Kansas say, oh, and Nebraska, oh, the Supreme Court, y'all have no right telling us states that we can't have slaves. We're states. We can do what we want to do. Let the people vote. Okay? And so now that is what lights the fire up under Abe Lincoln to get back into this whole politics thing, because Abe Lincoln was like, he was done. He wasn't even messing with this stuff. All right? And so 1854 is also the year when they passed the Kansas-Nebraska Act. They also come in and starts another war called Bleeding Kansas. Kansas was so thick and it was so much fighting between white folks who wanted slaves. They were called the Border Ruffians, and folks who didn't want slaves, they were called the Jayhawkers, like the basketball team, Kansas Jayhawkers. Look it up. You're going to see this shit. I'm telling you, I got this shit down now. It's about to be a wrap, because we got to learn the story from the art of war perspective and the truth. It's just the truth. And it's not hard to figure out once you put the timeline together. And so, in fact, shout out to Colonel James Montgomery. Look him up. Colonel James Montgomery is the one who was rolling with Harriet Tubman and giving Harriet Tubman guns and boats as they was going down the river and doing raids on Confederates and freeing slaves. Facts. Colonel James Montgomery. Where is he from? Salute. Colonel James Montgomery from Ohio too. Look it up. Okay? Here's another one. All right? Because William T. Sherman, because he's from Ohio. You hear this story about Dre Scott, and the United States of America don't like niggas because they said that Dre Scott and black folks cannot be citizens. That is not a reflection of the United States of America. That is a reflection of the Supreme Court, who at the time were Confederates. This is very important. I put this in the last video that I did, okay? This is very important to really understand this, okay? Because Chief Judge Taney, when he dies, Abraham Lincoln didn't even give a public speech about this dude, which is kind of to a degree that's really disrespectful, because the president and any Supreme Court justice die, out of just politics, you would give some type of statement. Lincoln said nothing. In fact, what Lincoln did was a guy by the name of Salmon, like the fish, Salmon P. Chase, he appointed him as the next Supreme Court Chief Justice. Chase wasn't born in Ohio, but established himself in Ohio, became the first Republican governor of Ohio, and had his law office right here in Ohio. Okay? Facts. Okay? Now, and so back it up a little bit, the 1854 war, or Bleeding Kansas, that's really, think about this. It's so much fighting, they call that Bleeding Kansas. And this is really a civil war before the big Civil War takes place, because it lasts from 1854 to 1861. April of 61 is the first shot battle of Fort Sumter when the Civil War kicks off. So that's like a 7-year war in Kansas with white folks knuckling up. And again, salute to James Montgomery. because he's down there in Kansas before he hooks up with Harriet Tubman, assisting black folks and arming black folks, forming militias. Before Massachusetts, and shout out to Massachusetts, because they are the first one to raise a black regiment officially in the army. But there was black folks fighting in the Civil War before the official recognition, though. You feel me? And you can go all the way back to 1854 inside of Bleeding, Kansas with James Montgomery. Now, to William T. Sherman, because again, without this war general, I'm telling you, we'd be in trouble. Every time, see what Grant was this. Grant was in the Western Theater. The Western Theater is shit that was over there by the Mississippi River. And the Eastern Theater is everything that's pretty much on the Eastern Seaboard. Virginia, mainly Virginia, the Carolinas, things of that nature. United States Army or the Union Army is getting their ass served in the Eastern Theater. I mean, getting served, okay? But in the Western Theater, boys is kicking ass. William T. Sherman is out west in the Mississippi area with Grant, okay? So when Grant gets a promotion to lead the Western Theater, William T. Sherman would now step up and take his place over the Army of the Tennessee. Okay? And it's very interesting because the Union armies named themselves after the rivers, which are the feminine principle. And the Confederate armies was naming themselves after the land, which is also feminine, but I just found it interesting that in that era, the water army won. The Union army is naming themselves after the rivers. Look into it, okay? And so Grant is no longer the commander of the Army of Tennessee. He now is pretty much the commander over all of the armies in the Western Theater. Sherman now becomes the man over the Army of the Tennessee. Then what happens is, let me show y'all something about, because Abraham Lincoln said something. He said something called, in his inauguration, he mentioned the mystic chords of memory, okay? And it was very mystical and cryptic speech. It was very philosophical. And he was really talking about how in the mystic chords of memory that those living have this invisible cord connection from their hearts that's connected to the soldiers and the dead soldiers in their grave. And he's giving reference of a future time as well. And I'm like, yo, this dude was on something else. Now, Abe Lincoln, it's a known fact that Abe Lincoln, before he died, saw his death in a dream. And he would come and he was talking to his people and told him like, oh, the president was dead in my dream. So he got the premonition before it happened. In fact, he used to get premonitions a lot, and his wife used to kind of determine or interpret his dreams in a sense, okay? And so when Grant goes into Tennessee, Sherman goes into Tennessee as well. There's a lot of battles taken forth in Tennessee. The Battle of Shiloh, Chickamauga, Chickamauga is technically in northern Georgia, Chattanooga, Nashville, Franklin campaigns. When they win in Tennessee, and remind me to come back to the mystic chords of memory because I'm going to show y'all something with July 4th. When they win in Tennessee, Grant gets another promotion, okay? Now he's going to become the general over the entire army. So now what's William T. Sherman going to do? He's going to step up in Grant's place, and he's going to be the commander of all of the Western armies. Okay? Facts. All right? So then later, after the Civil War, when Grant becomes president, Lincoln's dead, Johnson is in. Okay? After Johnson comes, then Grant's going to become president, and then guess who's now about to get a promotion again and step up and be the general of the entire army after the Civil War? William T. Sherman. So every time Grant got a promotion, his previous post always goes to William T. Sherman. That's why there's a famous picture, and sometimes I post it on Facebook or whatnot, and I tried to post it here, it was acting crazy. William T. Sherman, Abraham Lincoln in the middle, and President Grant, also known as General Grant back then. Those three are definitely our three wise men and icons when it comes to the Civil War thing. Okay, and so without Sherman, because again, man, Sherman is taking over Grant's campaigns, and it was so bold of him when he went into Georgia because he cut all his communication lines. You couldn't even get in contact with Sherman. You didn't know what the hell was going on with that army that was going down there. All right. And cut all the supply lines too. So then they had to ravage and pretty much kick indoors and take all of the food and supplies that was left in, regular civilian homes and Confederate posts. And this is a fact. So this is why, some people think that the war was fought disgracefully in a sense because they was burning and looting. You know what I'm saying? Burning and looting houses real heavy. You know what I mean? But that was a tactic when Sherman had to cut off all communications. And it's just very interesting, man, because, again, these people didn't have to do this. You know what I mean? There was a lot of conflicted souls in this army because even if we take the argument that Sherman didn't like niggas, he didn't like them so much that he could have joined the Confederate side. At the outbreak of the Civil War, he was in Louisiana at a military post. And he was telling the governor of Louisiana then, like, hey, if y'all secede from the Union, I'm not committing treason, man. I'm not going against the country. So I recommend that you bring somebody else in and I'll train them, but I got to get out of here. This is a fact. And then he went up to St. Louis. That's why his body's in St. Louis to this day. So he didn't like niggas that bad because he had a choice. Like, man, bump these niggas. I'm riding with the Confederates. Like the Confederates did. You see what I'm saying? He didn't do that. And so, irregardless of the fact that, at the end of the day, you knew this was about slavery. You don't let nobody fool y'all. You know what I mean? I'm only spitting this information now because it's the truth. The Civil War was about slavery because I was told and was bamboozled coming up through information from black folks who were really emotional, and then also to feed their ego to sound deep. They would say things like, well, you think the North really freed people? It was about industrialization. Man, it wasn't about, if it was like, me and Jew always say it, if it was about that, they could have easily transported slaves up north and chained us up to the machines, because there were slaves up north. You had people down south who had slaves, and since they were their property, they'll move up north and remain their property. You see what I'm saying? And so if it was about that, what's better than free labor? You see what I'm saying? And so it's just not true. And then when you start looking into this thing, you just see another story. You know what I'm saying? So salute, man, to by far my favorite war general, William T. Sherman, man. He took it to their ass. I'm talking about he lit into the Confederates' ass. All right? He was crushing Joe Johnston. He was making them run, retreat. Joe Johnston was getting beat so bad that the president of the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis, all right, sorry about that, lost my connection. But Joe Johnston was getting beat so bad that the president of the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis, called in and said, nigga, you ain't no general, move. We dismissing you. And they put in John Bell Hood out of Texas, who became the head commander for a quick minute down in that region. You know what I'm saying? And Hood got that ass beat too by William T. Sherman. Instead of fighting Sherman when Sherman was advancing through Georgia, Hood retreated and went back up into Tennessee and tried to get some more Tennessee things popping and try to retake, Chattanooga up in that area and whatnot. But it was already over because we just came through and smashed that. The mystic cores of memory that I was going to tell y'all about real fast is you got to look at something that's you just got to really look at this. So this whole red, white, and blue in this is a great alignment of Sirius with Sirius, Earth, and the Sun, and then Sirius, Sun, and Earth, and hopefully y'all can see that diagram. And so I just want you to imagine if you're writing on a regular piece of paper from left to right on the same line. I want you to have Sirius, then the Earth, then the Sun. And that perfect alignment only happens around January the 1st. Okay, January 1st through 5th. This is known as the perihelion. This is a time where the Earth is also perihelion, meaning this the Earth is closest to the Sun, but this is also when the Earth is in a straight alignment with Sirius and the Sun. So it's a 3-star alignment. These are your 3 wise men in Star of Bethlehem. Okay, now on July 4th, which is 6 months later, the alignment is now Sirius, Sun, Earth. Because remember, the Earth is going around the Sun. So sometimes on our diagram, the Earth could be on the left side of the Sun, or it could be on the right side of the Sun. In our diagram, it could be at the top, it could be at the bottom, right? So when is it in the perfect straight alignment with Sirius? This only happens, again, January the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th up in that area. Then July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, which is Canada Day, their new year, July 1st. July 4th, the Great Alignment as well. And then the aphelion, where this Earth is furthest away from the Sun, is around July 4th. All right, so this is a major alignment, major super duper alignment that's taking place. And so this is an ancient African cosmological event. This is a fact. And it's so cosmic that in Egypt, they say, yo, the goddess Sebdek she got the star in her head. She's the Sirius goddess. The Sebdek will later become Isis. And then they would build this temple of Isis and Philae, and the temple entrance will be dedicated to the alignment of Sirius when it rises. Because we all know, they say when Sirius rises before the Sun, usually in late July and in early August, then the Nile River started to flood, and this was festival time and great celebration. This is a fact, okay? So Sirius, we know in the African culture is heavily revered. You take it to West Africa with the Dogon. The Dogon say, listen, all of humanity actually was seeded from these super intelligent beings that came from Sirius, and they traveled here to the Earth and populated the Earth. That's their story, okay? But I'm just showing you an African reference to Sirius. Now, our culture, the United States of America, January 1st, July 4th, and its independence is all Sirius based. And so you had these group of men that's be like, yo, we need to get free from the crown, King George. We don't like it. We don't like taxation without representation. It's unfair. We don't like it. We need to break free. We're going to write and form our Declaration of Independence, and we're going to stand on this. So they got to fight for that. United States of America got to fight. That July 4th thing, they got to fight for that. And from that standpoint, they got to fight for, 7 years, 1776 to 1863. 1763. 1763 is the Treaty of Paris. King George give up. I ain't fighting y'all no more. I've been fighting y'all for 7 years. Since y'all claim y'all Declaration of Independence, I'm done. Be the United States of America then. Bump y'all. Treaty of Paris. I always say, shout out to J.A. niggas in Paris, okay? And so, that July 4th stamp, you gotta really pay attention to this. We know it's African in origin. Sirius, Sun, Earth is the alignment on July 4th. They write and inscribing this in, stamp, sign, seal, deliver, it's on and popping. We declaring ourselves free on this great alignment. Right? It works. They just had to fight for it for 7 years, but it worked. How about when the Civil War comes? A lot of people argue, when was the turning point of the Civil War? Because I'm going to tell you, in 1861, the start of the Civil War, Battle of Fort Sumter, April 61, Confederate South Carolina, under PGT Brigade, they fired the first shot at the United States boat. United States got hit first, got sucker punched, didn't know it was coming, got sucker punched, tried to fight back, lost, surrendered, gave up Fort Sumter. Confederates won. It's wartime. Then we go to the Battle of Bull Run, also known as the Battle of Manassas. First Manassas, first Bull Run. Okay? The Union Army get that ass waxed. Confederates win again. Real story. All right? So Another Battle of Bull Run happens too. Battle of Manassas too. Battle of Bull Run and Manassas are the same battle. We call it Bull Run. The rebels, they call it Manassas. And so get beat again. So the United States is getting their ass served. The Union getting served on the Eastern Seaboard and the Eastern Theater. I'm telling you, we winning in the Western Theater. The way that we won the war was coming from Vicksburg, Mississippi, then coming from the west, from the Mississippi, coming from Vicksburg, coming into Tennessee, and then from Tennessee, we went into Virginia, and then Sherman went down into Georgia, so it went from west to east. And that's the same way that the earth travels, right? The earth travels from west to east, and it gives the illusion that the sun rises in the east first, and then they get the light later. But the truth of the matter is the earth is spinning in that direction, okay, from west to east. That's why when you look at the jet stream on a weather map, the jet stream goes which way? It comes from the west coast, and then it goes all the way over to east. So it goes from west to east. This is why the Muslims pray in which direction? Facing the east, okay? And so the eastern direction is a very important direction because of sunrise, but it's really not sunrise. It's because the earth is spinning in that orientation. So we won the war based upon the orientation of spin. Okay? Straight up. And so the turning point of the war, they would tell you, is the Battle of Gettysburg in Pennsylvania. That ended like July the 4th. Okay? At the same time, the Tennessee campaign from the Army of the Cumberland is also from Ohio. That army was originally the Army of the Ohio. And then the Army of Ohio had another army called the Army of Ohio. So the Ohio had two armies inside of the Civil War. All right, so you got Gettysburg in the east, okay, which is now that's one of our armies over there, one of the Union armies, obviously. Okay, the Army of the Potomac is over there in the east. That Gettysburg concludes like July the 4th. In Middle Tennessee, that campaign concludes July 4th. Vicksburg, Mississippi, that campaign concludes July the 3rd. Okay? So you got three battles from Vicksburg, Mississippi, middle of Tennessee, all right, and all the way up to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, 1,000 miles apart, okay, all concluding on the same day. Vicksburg had been going on for a good 2 months already. Gettysburg was only like a 3-day war, all right, and I forget what Tennessee was. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, yo, is it a coincidence that this country founded on this great alignment of July the 4th, and what historians call the turning point of the Civil War, which would be the turning point of how slaves would get free? These three battles, Vicksburg, Middle Tennessee campaign, and Gettysburg, end on July the 4th. Is that a coincidence? And I'm telling you, when you go to the inauguration speech of Abraham Lincoln, and he talks about this mystic chords of memory, it's nothing more than how me and Minister Jew be telling y'all that space is intelligent. It's as if something knew that, you know, what July 4th was, and the Union had to be victorious on this day. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. You know what I'm saying? I got some stuff on it, but I ain't gonna reveal all of it here. But again, I'm going to say if it wasn't for whose birthday it is today, my general William T. Sherman, we can be in a whole heap of trouble, man. A whole heap of trouble. He put in some serious work, man. There's a lot of people who are dead and are in graveyards, based off of you know black folks getting us out that situation, man. You know what I mean? And we owe homage to that. And so if you follow me on Facebook, you see, or if you don't follow me on Facebook, I want you to Google the following things and see if it check out. One, I want you to Google the American eclipse. you're going to see that the first one that took place, what was that, August 21st, 22nd, August 21st, 22nd of 2017, I think it was. You will see that it was most visible over Carbondale, Illinois. That's a fact. Then there's another one coming in shit. When it's another one coming in what, y'all? 20. When another one coming? 2030 something. All right, so another eclipse coming. Or is it 2024? It's another eclipse coming, and it's gonna come on April the 8th. And I said, wow, that's interesting, because April the 8th is just 1 day short of the surrender date of General Lee, which is April the 9th. And if you know anything about this place that we live in an egg-shaped circle. So sometimes technically your birthday can come 1 day earlier. Sometimes it can come what we would call 1 day late too, because you're trying to fit 365 days into 360 degrees. And so sometimes to be perfect, it's just not a perfect circle. Things could be what we would call off by 1 day in a sense, right? So you just gotta know the science of measurement. And so 1 day off ain't trust me, it's the same thing. And so anyway, these two eclipses, I think it's 2024. These two eclipses, this eclipse is going to cross the path and it's going to form an X of the first eclipse. And where it forms an X is over southern Illinois. And so the Spirit told me, well, zoom in on southern Illinois. And I zoom in on it, and lo and behold, there is a city called Makanda that looks like Wakanda. Wakanda. Same thing, the M is just a W, right? And I said, now this is very interesting that the eclipse is going to happen right here. And if you know, below southern Illinois is basically the Ohio River. Below that point is the slave territory. Okay? And so an X is the Confederate flag. That's their symbol. And it's going to happen on the day that General Lee surrendered. So I said, oh, shit. Here we go again. This is about to be potentially on a spirit plane. There could be a revival of Confederate energy. And I'm going to tell y'all this. This ain't no spooky shit. This is real shit. That you have to, the war is fought. There's a Bible quote that talks about the war is fought against wickedness and principality in high places. Those are not necessarily physical things that they're talking about. Let me just slow it down and let's just really build, right? March of 2013, we go to Stone Mountain and we are met with intense fog on Stone Mountain. I got the pictures of the fog. Myself, my brother, we do an ancient banishing rite to make clouds dissipate. We do this right. The clouds dissipate. We got the pictures of the before and after to show you that the clouds disappear. Some of you people in the chat, y'all rock with us. Y'all can probably testify like, yep, I was there or I seen that picture. We got the before and after of Stone Mountain. If you ever seen that picture or you was with us, say so in the chat. So just letting people know I ain't bugging. All right. So I want you to do the math. In fact, God damn it, it just hit me. It just freaking hit me. I bet you on April the 8th of 2013, there was an earthquake. Let's see, that was April. No, it was April 11th. But it was April 11th. It was an earthquake that happened in Lincolnton, Georgia. Facts. In Lincolnton, Georgia. A month after we left Stone Mountain. Stone Mountain becomes critical because it is the second birth of the Ku Klux Klan, and they meet at Stone Mountain. Stone Mountain becomes critical because on the side of a mountain, They have Stonewall Jackson, who's the Lieutenant General of the Confederate Army, General Lee, who's the head general of the Confederate Army, and Jefferson Davis, who's the president of the Confederacy. These three men are on horses, and they're etched in stone on the side of the mountain. So Stone Mountain is a Confederate mountain. Let's be very clear, because Georgia is the fifth state that left the Union to join the Confederate States of America to keep slaves and fight in the Civil War. It was number 5. Let's be clear about that. Okay? So Stone Mountain is imperative when you understand the Confederacy and the KKK, which, by the way, the first Ku Klux Klan created and organized in 1865 after the Civil War was over and the Confederates got their ass beat. Abraham Lincoln is dead. And then the Ku Klux Klan decide that since we ain't fighting in the war no more, we're going to do the Ku Klux Klan stuff. And this is how we're going to still get down and execute our authority. Okay? Facts. Same year Lincoln died. The second Klan came and organized on Stone Mountain. If you Google man petitions faces off of Stone Mountain, you're going to see that happened in April of 2013, just 1 month after we were up on that mountain. Remember, it was cloudy. Clouds are synonymous with thoughts. My thoughts are cloudy right now. Yes, we say that. So thoughts are synonymous with clouds and vice versa. And so we looked at this and we did this radio show on April the 12th or the 11th, one of the two. It was a Sunday in 2013. And the subject matter was, we've been to the mountaintop, because Martin Luther King, and Dave in the chat telling y'all, he's seen it for years. Martin Luther King said Stone Mountain, and I have a dream speech. So let's go up to Stone Mountain since we know what it represents. And here's another play on this thing, y'all. The homie Tupac, doesn't he have a memorial in the city of Stone Mountain? But the man ain't from Georgia. Tupac ain't from Georgia. Man born in Maryland. Your man ain't got nothing to do with Georgia. But what did he do in Georgia that's so important to the culture that we need to understand? While in Georgia, Tupac shot 2 white off-duty police officers. And guess what? Because they brandished a gun at a civilian. He wasn't happy with that. He upped his gun and shot at their ass. And guess what? The case got dropped. They didn't. And see, this is how you know the power is over. They didn't come in and say, you black nigger, you shot at one of our off-duty cops. We're going to kill you. We're going to imprison you for life and charge you with attempted murder. They ain't do none of that. There was another, because there's another spirit force that's run. The battle is between evil and good, now known as Confederate and Union. So Pac is off. He get off on that. And then they put a memorial in Stone Mountain, the same place where the KKK organized and the Confederate little thing, right? And so spirit hit me, because I'm like, when I go back, well, let me just keep it in this line. So you just look at the chronology of events, and I'm telling you all the shit I'm saying. You can go Google this shit. Go Google. You can Google the earthquake, Lincolnton, Georgia, April of 2013. You're gonna see an earthquake went off the same day we was on the radio station. I think that's April the 11th of 2013, or April the 12th. Guaranteed, right up in there. And we get off the radio, an earthquake went off, man, in Lincolnton. You know what I'm saying? Lincolnton ain't nothing but a play on Lincoln. And I'm like, okay, spirit got that. Then 2014, we chill. We didn't go there. 2014, we went to New Orleans and did some other shit. 2015, we come back to Stone Mountain. Facts. 2015, 7/11 of 2015, we come back. And we doing this thing called the Stump Off. I got this flyer made. With Stone Mountain. It's in red. I got the Ku Klux Klan on the flyer, and I got the pistol scope on them. Like, we aiming at you, but we coming from the spiritual perspective. We released our book, had a book sign in there, Spiritual Wisdom for the 21st Century, which is on Amazon. Got pictures The stuff I'm talking about and other stuff, light coming out our pineal glands and all that stuff. Dope book. Me and you got a book. It's on Amazon called Spiritual Wisdom for the 21st Century. Okay? 7/11, which we know is an infamous time of the Moors. The Moors go up into Spain, kick off in their ass in the year 7/11. The culture of the world respect that, so now in the dice game 7/11, and then we go to 7/11 and we get our blunts and do what we do, right? So 7/11 is etched in the consciousness, and it's also known as a winning number. 7/11, it's winning, right? And so shout out to Beyonce, playing on that as well. And so 7/11 is interesting. We're gonna go to Stone Mountain, and I think that's a Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. And so anyway, we're gonna do a weekend event there. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday we get in town, we ain't doing nothing. Saturday's gonna be the book signing. Sunday we'll go and we handle the spiritual work, right? So if you go Google Confederate flag stolen, you're gonna see that probably happened on July the 10th of 2015. So right as we're coming into town, we get the wink from God, like that flag is gonna come down because y'all here to do the stump off. We called it the 7/11 stump off. You gotta go to Stone Mountain and you gotta project positive thoughts from the Union perspective to combat the ancestral MC. Don't think you're the only one that got ancestors. Confederates got ancestors, man. So if your ancestors be coming through on your altar and doing shit for you, right, then don't think that the Confederate ancestors ain't alive. Don't think that Confederate energy in the graveyards ain't real. You can't catch ghosts of their ass. All right, it's real. So the flag is taken down. It's a fact that we documented that we going there to deal with that on the spiritual plane. And then that following Monday of 2015, around July 13th, 14th, right up in there, you can Google this. NAACP files petition to remove the Confederate symbols off of Stone Mountain. So that's 2 times. In 2013 we go, a month later, a petition surfaced to remove that energy. July of 2015 we go, we leave, the Confederate flag come down on our arrival, we leave the following Monday, NAACP petitions that those 3 men need to come off the mountain. So every time we go, there's a correspondence that comes back to say this Confederate shit, do something about it. Every single time, right? And then it dawned on me, well shit, if we went in 13 and 15, we ain't do it in 17, it's 19. I noticed that the pattern was we kicking ass on the odd number year when we go back, because they still fly the Confederate flag at the base of the mountain. The United States flag is there, the Georgia flag is there, the Confederate flag is there as well. And so every now and then you get KKK rallies around that point where they're coming back and they're insurging that racist energy on the mountain. The Holy Quran calls the mountain stabilizers. But I'm going to tell you what a mountain is really an amplifying force. It's like an amp that you put in your car and it makes the music louder. A mountain is an amplifier of thoughts. When you tap in and you go to the mountain and you shoot your shit, thoughts off into the ether. You know what I'm saying? And so it still got me live. Let me see, can y'all hear me? Can y'all still with me? Somebody said I'm froze on their side. Let me know. Can y'all still with me? All right. Thank you. All right. And so I'm just saying. I'm just saying, man. You look at the chronology of events. And I'm sorry this ain't a PowerPoint where I can show you, but I've shown this over the years. You know what I'm saying? But do a little bit of research, as they say, and look for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, these things line up. So why would Tupac Memorial be there? Why would the Spirit of God say put him at Stone Mountain? And this is the same guy that also said Illuminati. You understand what I'm saying? I tell people, Tupac's a Gemini. you were in love with that of him, but you were really in love with the Mars, the fighting energy, the masculine energy, the warrior energy that he possessed. And when he was born, he had Mars in Aquarius, man. And so, really, that fighting passion that he had, when he'd make a statement that'd say, America eats its babies, or you can't forget about everybody, and he was talking about the collective consciousness, that's Aquarius. That's Bob Marley. That's Abraham Lincoln. That's William T. Sherman. The people who fight for the advancement for everyone. You know what I'm saying? That's a humanitarian trait. It's an Aquarian trait. So you really love Pop Mars and you like Pox Mars and Aquarius is what you have. All right. And so Spirit put that memorial at Stone Mountain because you still got work to do, and only thing you got to do is just come and touch these places. And when you touch these places with the right intention within the right season, whether it be equinox and solstice points, and you can do it as a collective group of people, because the more energy, the more impact the laser is. The light, concentrated form of light, becomes a laser, right? And then you start to ring off these bells in the ethers, and then you battle this thing from a mental plane, and then people will start to work and walk out the things that you are thinking about. It's no different than creating a goal from a vision board, and all of a sudden everything lines up, and you start to meet the people who are going to give you what you need in the next step. It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And so that's pretty much the skinny of it. I know I went a little bit everywhere, but that's what I tend to do. But it's all relative to William T. Sherman because, you know, again, he burned Georgia. You know, Georgia City Seal. Again, Atlanta City Seal, rather. The fire with the bird. What happened, Atlanta? What happened? It got burned down. Who burned it down? Nobody talks about that. One, people don't even know what the seal is, but he burned it down. My war general. You know what I'm saying? And rightfully so, because that literally was going to, you know, that freed a lot of slaves doing that move. You know what I mean? And ultimately, you and I are here. You know what I mean? So, any questions, comments, anything dealing with? I mean, y'all gotta study this shit, man. It's fun. It's not hard, man. This stuff is so freaking amazing. Like, I'm in love with the Civil War. It's like, yo, I can see the story now. Instead of relying on that hyperbole. You know what I mean? Like, you think... Like, I pray that in a couple days when Abe Lincoln's birthday come on 2/12, shout out to Gucci Mane, that's his birthday too. I say it like, listen, man. We are in the age of Aquarius for 2,000 years. In the age of Aquarius for 2,000 years. And then, back in the day, you had this group called the Fifth Dimension, and then they had this song called Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In. And they called themselves the Fifth Dimension. And that's very interesting. Because if you know anything about that cover, got a zodiac wheel, and it got 2 Aquarius points on that cover. 4 degrees Aquarius and 27 degrees Aquarius. All right? And I'm going to hold out what that means. But it's just interesting that we're in the age of Aquarius, and then an Aquarius will come. Aquarius keywords, literally, if you look up Aquarius or Uranus, a keyword is called freedom. And again, that's why I say Bob Marley. He talks about freedom, right? Huey P. Newton. Freedom. Right? Then the Mayan calendar will come, and then you got the infamous year 2012. When 2012 comes. So 2012 is just 2012. But Abraham Lincoln is February the 12th. And you just look at these direct correspondences. I ain't changing, I ain't adding nothing. I'm just looking at straight what it is. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, God is amazing. This is an amazing story. You know what I'm saying? 2019, if we're going to accept, and we did as a culture, if we accept the fact that 400 years of bondage, then this is your great jubilee. 2019, you free. 400 years expire this year. It's up. You know what I'm saying? Now, when you want to do it, you're going to wait till, I don't know, April 9th when General Lee surrendered? Or do you want to go to July 4th, the Great Alignment? And, you know, when, you know, and that's true. You know, Gettysburg was very significant. But again, y'all always hear about Gettysburg, but y'all never hear about Vicksburg. Europeans who study Civil War, they know about Vicksburg. Vicksburg was very important. Mississippi. And you don't never hear about the Middle Tennessee campaigns that ended on the same day. So July 4th, this July 4th, 400-year celebration of slavery, we really should get together and fuck that. Excuse my French, but we're going to get together and we need to barbecue. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to probably do something. We're going to do something this summer for sure. We doing something. And that's right, space repeating itself. We're going to do something of grand scale. And we got to do something in the Midwest with the whole eclipse points with the Maconda and whatnot. And don't think that you got to wait to 2024. You don't react to nothing. You got to get it in front of the program. You got to get in front of light, as we call it. You see what I'm saying? So when y'all see us get a call that, yo, we going, just know we be on something. We it's the reason why we going when we go. You know what I mean? And so again, this American eclipse is dead over Maconda. And here's the kicker with Illinois. I swear to God, man. You can go to Google Maps right now and zoom in on Southern Illinois. Southern Illinois was called Little Egypt. Maconda city slogan is called the Star of Little Egypt. Okay? And so you got Maconda, Wakanda. Wakanda was in the movie Panther. Well, that national forest where Maconda sits is known as Panther's Den. Go type in Panther's Den National Park and you're going to start seeing information that there's a part of the forest by Maconda that is called Panther's Den. I'm not making this shit up. And guess what county that Maconda is actually in Jackson County, but Panther's Den is in the neighboring county right under Maconda, and that's called Union, as in the Union Army, us being unified. That's Union County. So I'm telling you, with the eclipse, they always say eclipses and shit represent omens, and you saw it in the movie Apocalypto, and it's just a known fact. But we gotta start looking at this stuff. You don't have to. Everybody got to just do what they do. You know what I mean? Those of us who got a high understanding, we know what it represents for humanity at large and what humanity should do to program the light wave, because that wave is not here yet, but it is here because it will be here. And since it will be here, it has already been here, if you can understand that. All right. And so it's great energy. When you start looking at Southern Illinois, I think Dewan posted earlier, you got a city called Cairo. Cairo is a name of a city in Egypt. And shout out to Swiss Beats and Alicia Keys, because if I'm not mistaken, they got, I think one of their sons' name is Cairo, if I'm not mistaken. You have another city in Southern Illinois called Karnak, which is a name of a city in one of the temples over at Luxor and Karnak. You have another city in Illinois called Thebes. There's at least 3 cities in Southern Illinois that's named after Egypt. Cairo, Karnak, and Thebes, Illinois. Facts, look it up. Okay? Then you have something in Illinois called Pyramid Recreational State Park. Look that up. Then there's a city in fact, y'all can go to my site and get my free download on the American Eclipse. MyAstrologyCoach.com. Shop tab, free downloads. The American Eclipse is going to be a zip folder. The email going to come when you get it for free. Look inside of the invoice for the link. And then also check your spam. Is also going to email you a receipt. It's going to be a link inside of the receipt. Unzip the zip folder, listen to the MP3, pull up the PDF that I put together, and you can see it, man. There's a city in Illinois called Future City. Shout out to Future from Pluto. Like Future, right? Comes out with an album called fucking Pluto, like because he's a Scorpio. Like everybody is playing a part. I like to call everybody as a minion of God. And so there's a city in southern Illinois called Future City. So you got Future City, Little Egypt, Thebes, Karnak, Pyramid Recreational, Cairo, Makanda. Makanda is Wakanda. Wakanda is Panther. Makanda sits right by Panther's Hub, or Panther's Den rather, part of the state forest. That part of the state forest is in Union County. What are you supposed to do? You are supposed to build a future city. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to build a future city. What does that look like, though? Do you build it right there? You could. You can build it anywhere you want to. But what does it look like? It don't necessarily look. It's not going to look like separation. This is an all Black Wall Street town. You can do that, but you done already did that. And the truth of the matter is, it can't be all black because it's the Union. The Union is black and white. So Michael Jackson tell you it doesn't matter if you're black or white. Right? The Union is all about the black and white. The Union is all about the two opposing ideologies of black and white coming together. I ain't talking Confederates. I'm talking about the Union whites and the blacks. And the skin tone of white and black coming together. The blood and the Crip coming together through peace, the white flag, to build a better America. Snoop and Nipsey on this side, Game and YG on this side. And that's why you see these great collaborations out west between these two, and this shit be popping, be kicking off. Because it's talking about a unifying force. That's what the Union is. That's what the flag represents. We got it twisted because we be aiming at the wrong people. We be aiming at the United States, and that's not the aim. The United States definitely needs to do an internal checkup. You know what I mean? But that's not the chief aim. You dig? So we supposed to build. So what do we need to build? I'm gonna tell y'all the blueprint. Because even if you get reparations, the people have to, who gonna write the reparations bill and say this is what we want, this is what it is? We haven't done that. We haven't graduated to that point yet. You do copy and paste. You take two senators that you create. You can call them your hip hop senators, for lack of a better word. Or three, just in case there's a debate, 2-1 wins in a sense. Two from each state. It's like it be cracking me up, right? So shout out to my by far my OG and mentor of the rap game is E40, E40, the ambassador of the Bay. We have these illustrious titles. Ambassador. I'm the king of the South. I'm the chancellor of such and such. I'm the king of New York. You know what I mean? You take 2 or 3 people from areas, man. So give me 40. Give me a young person like Nipsey Hussle. Give me Snoop. Give me 3, whatever. Give me Bun B out of Texas. Give me Slim Thug out of Texas. Give me Tip out of Georgia. Give me whoever else you want to elect. Give me Jay and Puff out of New York. Give me Kanye and Common out of Chicago. And Chance, which is Chancellor, which is a leadership name within politics in Europe. You start creating these representatives. And then these representatives or these hip hop senators in a sense, and they ain't got to be all artists. I'm just giving a copy and paste framework because this shit ain't hard. And then those people have, like, you have a concert, you have a lecture, so to speak, at a concert that has some bullet points that you're going to vote in on. So, for example, you know, do y'all want to legalize marijuana in Cali? Say yes or no. You know what I mean? And then everybody punch in on the app. Like when Drake versus Lil Wayne, and they was doing this little rap battle between themselves on stage, people had an app and they could vote for who's better, Lil Wayne or Drake, dead on the spot. And Lil Wayne beat Drake. You know what I'm saying? So there's a way where you can now everybody chime in your from your particular district and state by casting their particular vote. You see what I'm saying? That's right. E40 came out with his first album, Federal. I'm going federal. Chump, this ain't no damn miracle. Man, that shit, bang. I think I'm a vibe to that today, man. That shit was a knocker. And so, you know, we, you know, you do stuff like that, and then you say, all right, this is what we got. This is one thing you can't, this is why you can't be screaming white supremacy, because the white boy who is really cold, I ain't talking about the Confederate, the ones who was in your favor, believe it or not, is who was called the Founding Fathers. Like, them dudes, after 1783, Treaty of Paris come, King George gives up. In 4 years, 1787, they're at the Constitutional Convention talking about, all right, so this is a new form of government called the United States of America, and we need to make some rules up, man. So we need to meet all freaking summer because we got to iron this out. You know what I'm saying? Virginia, how many people you got from that's going to represent Virginia? How many people you got from North Carolina and things of that nature? They had to iron this shit out and create it. So we can't be, and you got to remember, government is ran by people. Government policies are ideas that come from people. You can't keep relying on people to change certain things, because as the Declaration of Independence says, you got a right to abolish any form of government that you feel is tyranny and oppressive. And I don't think that the United States government is tyranny and oppressive. The United States government is the only flag that came and got slaves out that situation. But we just, and what happens is Confederates take over, and then they got government for a minute because they had it in the beginning with the slaves. They had it with the Supreme Court ruling against Dred Scott. Okay? Then they get ousted. Then Abe Lincoln and them get in. Then Lincoln gets assassinated. Now Andrew Johnson is in, and he's a Democrat. And then he's rescinding some of that shit because he got Southern political views. So the Freedmen's Bureau and shit is going out the window and shit. And the 40 acres and the mule, that gets scratched, that William T. Sherman created. That gets scratched by Andrew Johnson. So now the slave states are back in. And so when you start looking at the scale of what's really happening, 1819, 1820 is very interesting, because the Missouri Compromise comes out. And the Missouri Compromise says, hey man, Missouri's like, yo, I want to come into the United States of America as our own state, and we elect to be a slave state. And at this time, there's 11 free states and 11 slave states. So this is about to disrupt the balance. So this is like, oh shit. The slave states at one time was, obviously it was all slave states. And then gradually free states came about. And then free states balanced it out and caught up. 1111, Missouri Compromise, 1819, it goes into effect 1820. So they say, I tell you what, Missouri, you come in here as a slave state, we're gonna create another state off the eastern side of Massachusetts called Maine. Maine gonna come into the Union as a free state, and now we're gonna be 12-12. There's always this battle taking place, it's this chess game that's taking place about our freedom, and nobody's talking about it. You see what I'm saying? And so inside of government, you got to understand, well, who's in power? Is this Confederate ideology or is it Union ideology? Because the Union won under Abe Lincoln. and various others as well. And that's the agenda that we got to push. When you represent this flag, man, can't nobody from the United States government tell you that you can't take this flag. Because if they do, they're going to say, yo, if they say that you can't rep this flag, they're initially saying that they are in support of the Confederacy, and they are like the judges who ruled against Dred Scott, which I put it in a whole nother video. The Dred Scott thing, go look. I keep saying it. There was 5. We needed, the vote was 7-2. Check the record. 7 judges said, Dred Scott, niggas, y'all ain't shit. And y'all would never be citizens of the United States of America. And the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution ain't talking about y'all, because y'all niggas is property. Ain't talking about y'all. So we just need, we got 2 people that's for Scott. So you really need to understand who those 2 people are. One of them, he's like, yo, this is so bogus, I quit. Nobody's ever done that in the history of being a Supreme Court justice. They quit the post. Go look into it. Go look at the 2 people who supported him. The other who said, yo, that's bogus, you a citizen. Where he from? Ohio again. Okay? I'm showing you this. I'm telling you. Okay? So since it's 7-2 and it's 9 judges, at best we need 3 more to vote in our favor, because then we have a 5-4 and Dred Scott wins. So we just need 3 more people on our side. Let's look into 3 judges. Taney, Confederate, grew up into a slave family. He's a Chief Justice. Obvious. I mean, he don't rock with niggas. He'll tell you y'all ain't nothing, y'all property. Okay? Chief Justice Catron, Catron, go look him up. Got slaves in Tennessee. So he's Confederate. Slave owner. And look up Campbell. John Campbell. John Campbell, he amazes me the most. Because as a Supreme Court judge, you got to realize it is the Supreme Court Chief Justice who swears in the President of the United States. So when it comes to any misinterpretation or the interpretation of anything to be debated on a matter of law, the president ain't shit. Because he's the president of the executive branch. The president of the judicial branch is the person that say, I got the last say so on how this gonna go. But they don't write the law because that's the legislative branch, right? And so, but the buck is gonna stop with what I say it is. Okay, if it's a matter of law, that don't mean that the executive branch still can't do it. It just means if they do it and then brung up in another court of law, your ass gonna be found guilty. It don't stop you from doing it, but my interpretation of what's happening is the final kahuna. The buck stops here at the Supreme Court. So Campbell, one of the judges who voted against Dred Scott at the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861, this dude leaves being a Supreme Court judge and joins the Confederate Army, and he is the Assistant Secretary of War. That's very interesting. That's a very powerful post, because the Secretary of War is pretty much the general. He's the administrative general that's going to lay out the strategy and for the physical generals on the battlefield to implement and shit. So he's the general that ain't putting in no work. He's more of the mental general, while the other one is mental and physical. Okay? So this guy, John Campbell, who votes against Dred Scott, is literally the Assistant Secretary of War for the Confederacy. You cannot count them people as being American like the other 2 judges that voted for Dred Scott. We only needed 3 votes. You understand what I'm saying? So we gotta understand that, because we be hearing stuff like that, and that shit used to throw me off. That's why I'm on this shit, because it used to throw me off. I didn't get it. Like, oh, okay, we ain't citizens. That's how you feel, America? Nah, that wasn't America, man. That was Confederates. Stupid me. I got emotional and didn't follow the trails of war. You see what I'm saying? And so Dewan said something about the black codes. So right, the black codes is stuff that's passed by the Southerners. The Southerners are getting this stuff passed. And then the Fugitive Slave Act is getting passed. Right? Facts. But these are, the South is complaining like, man, y'all niggas up north is real bogus. Our slaves is getting free and they coming up there and y'all ain't doing nothing about it. What kind of shit is this? I feel like, man, y'all trying to take over what we got going on as independent states. That ain't right. Okay, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all find a slave up north, please tell them they got to go back. Or if you know they're a slave, you have to make out some type of arrangement, make sure they get back. But you don't physically have to bring them back. But, you know, stop aiding and abetting them because it's their property and they're crying down south. These are strategic placements before you go to war. So these compromises are always being worked out and these new laws are coming in. But what's not being said on the record is in 1819, you know, you get stuff like the African Squadron, you know, boats that's out on the Atlantic Ocean patrolling the west coast of Africa in Brazil to make sure that ain't no European nations bringing in no slaves. We're not taught about like what they did, what? And then this one guy named Nathaniel Gordon, look him up. Nathaniel Gordon, type in Nathaniel Gordon, African slave trade. He's the only person to ever be hung and killed for having slaves, because the United States passed a piracy law. Ain't no slaves coming in on no boats, man. And I better not find out no boats is being made in America to mess with slaves. So we're going to we're putting an end to this shit. Okay? So this dude in late 1859, he got his boat and he's stealing slaves. And I mean, he got like 800 something slaves. And majority of them are children. 500 something is children because they wouldn't fight back, of course. So one of the boats that's part of the African Squadron, the Navy unit for the United States of America, not African niggas, United States of America, see the boat, pull the boat over. Oh, you got slaves. Take the boat, take the slaves, took the slaves to Liberia, because Liberia was a free colony, let all the slaves off there, go back to the motherland, right? And then they arrest him. A long trial happens. Abe Lincoln don't come in until 60. He gets elected in 60, take office in 61. His trial ended up going until when Abe Lincoln became president and they asked this nigga for a pardon. Go read the wiki page on Nathaniel Gordon to see what Abe Lincoln said about this dude. I'm going to paraphrase. Abe Lincoln was like, listen, man, I can forgive anything because I just got one of those kind of minds that I can possibly forgive anything. But to rob Africa of her children, I cannot forgive that. I cannot pardon that. And that man was sentenced to death, and they hung him and killed him. Nathaniel Gordon was killed by the order of Abraham Lincoln, and Lincoln refused to give that man a pardon and specifically said for a man to rob Africa of her children. Go read Nathaniel Gordon's page on Wiki and what Abe said. Y'all gonna leave Abe alone. I'm telling you. I got Abe and the whole union thing. It's clear. It is very clear because something happened. It's called Me and You Are Free. All right. So you about to leave? What time you leave? In a minute? Now? Oh, okay. All right. I can help you. Then I can come right back. Thank you very much. So y'all got a question? Type it in. I'm about to drop something off in the car real fast. You gotta be right back. But if you got a question, let me know. All right. Nope. Oh, it's coming. Well, feel free, hit me up, but chew on that. But everybody, Google my man, William T. Sherman. Today is his birthday. Give my war general, one of the greatest war generals ever. Like, in the study of war, he's classified as one of the best ever. I give him a salute, and feel free, hit me up. All right, so with that, I thank y'all, and peace.